Hi, I'm Grant Nilsson. This is my dog Bailey here to my right, and welcome to Mustache Off Grid. Woo! Gotti! Hi guys, Grant Nilsson again here with the Mustache Off Grid YouTube channel. In case you're new to the channel, I cover various off-grid and homesteading topics. I live off-grid in southern Missouri in a one-room cabin, and I have no public utility hookup. So anyway, I'll get right into the topic this week here. Well, I guess I won't get right into it. I'll talk a little bit about some things. I didn't put out a video last week because, truthfully, I just kind of needed a break. It's been a hard 2 weeks here. We had just mud everywhere last week, and I got my car stuck, and it rained about the whole week. And the week before that, it was all snow and freezing temperatures for about 10 days. So I was really just trying to get through the hard part of the year. And now we're starting to it feels like spring again. It's supposed to be 60 a few times this week. It feels wonderful today. We got some sunshine. We didn't have sun for about 10 days. So, you know, I was kind of just trying to get through some of the hard weather and just trying to relax a little bit and clear my head a little bit. And sometimes putting out too many YouTube videos and, you know, all the electronic gizmos and gadgets, I tend to get a little bit, how can you put it, overstimulated, I guess, which happens a lot with, I guess, more modern society. But you know, for me, I just needed a break for a few days, and that's what I did last week. So anyway, I'm back to it this week, and today's topic, we had a lot of excitement this last week, and I had some new baby lambs born on the homestead here, so I'll have some videos of them right here. I'll just talk a little bit about them. You guys can see what they look like. As far as lambs go, you know, I had these baby lambs on throughout the cold stretch, when there was the 10 days of freezing temperatures. There was one day that it got up to about 32, and that's the day she had them. And then there was a couple days it was 0, and they seemed to do just fine. I had the barn strawed down good. I had them penned up. I just let them out yesterday of being penned up, so they're about 10 or 11 days old roughly. And they're doing really well. I'm really impressed at how strong they are and how they're jumping around and hopping around. But like I said, I'll put a video of them in here just so you guys can see what they look like. We got our first lambs here. I just came out here to dry her off. I just got home from town. It's pretty fresh. It's a little boy. Got some nice coloring on it. It's white and black. You can see the mom's right here. Usually it can get a little dangerous when the mom's here like this, but I just like to dry them off so that they're not so wet. She's been licking it, and you can tell it's getting strong, but I'm gonna have to strip the mom's teats and make sure she has milk. I mean, she has milk, there's no doubt about that, but I want to make sure that it's coming out for the little lamb. Got a second one born here, guys. I just pulled this one out just a minute ago. I'm gonna wipe it off a little bit, and then I'm gonna swing it, because sometimes you gotta swing them if they get some mucus in their lungs. It helps them get it out. It seems funny, but sometimes they get mucus in their lungs coming out, and it's good to give them a couple swings to get that out of their lungs. It seems healthy though. It's got nice coloring. This one's a ewe lamb, that's good. So she'll probably get added to the flock. The other one's a ram. I like to dry them off a little bit. That way they aren't so cold coming out. It's not too bad today. It's about 32. Umbilical cord. Usually it's sometimes good to put some iodine on their umbilical cords. But I don't have any iodine right now, so The lamb's pooping. Never seen that so quick like that before, or at least it looks like it is. Yeah, some sort of, I don't know what it is, but they're all slimy like this. I'm gonna let the mom lick it off for a while, and I'm just gonna let her take care of it. I've got them both a little bit dried off, and that one seems to be walking good. I'd like this. I'll make sure that they both milk in a little while here. We'll put them both back in the straw. Here, you get back in there where you're warmer. It'll take probably 10 minutes before that one walks. It takes a little time for them. But it knows it's going right to where it wants to milk. And I don't think she has a third one, but she definitely has these two twins for sure. That's probably going to be it for her. But you never know. Sometimes they do have three. I think she's done, though. I'm letting it get some milk here. It hasn't got milk yet, but she has plenty of milk. I just want the lamb to get back there and milk, and I just dried it off a little bit. I might grab her by the head and put the lamb back there like I just did. I wouldn't be surprised if she has another one, really. They're pretty fresh. I bet these ones aren't more than maybe 20 minutes old. But I figured, you know, for YouTube and stuff, you guys would probably like to see the footage. So I figured I'd film them a little bit. I'm probably going to pin them up in here. And I guess I've heard that the rams don't really like the lambs sometimes. So I'm just going to let her take care of them. I'd like to see them milk, but they're trying a little bit. The mothers lick them off like this. It's going to be a little cold tonight, but I'm sure the mom will be able to take care of them. And looks like they're trying to milk, so that's good. You can see the placenta coming out. I think that usually means that they're about done when you have the placenta hanging out of the ewe. I got the other one to eat. You got to get them to eat so that they'll get the colostrum, which is the milk from the new mother, and it's really nutritious for the lamb, gives them a lot of energy. But I got the first one to eat, but this one in front, I haven't seen it eat yet, but I have a feeling it might have ate. But I just want to make sure that I see it eat before I leave for church this evening. So, well, coloring on them. Beautiful coloring on the lambs, though. Black and white. I like the coloring with the catadin and mix with this blacker ewe. As far as raising sheep go, I wanted to talk about raising sheep mainly. There's a couple fundamentals with raising sheep. These are my first sheep that I've raised that are hair sheep, so they shed their wool. But growing up where I'm from in Illinois, we raise sheep basically I've raised sheep since about 5th grade, and we had wool sheep, so you had to shear them all. Generally speaking, you could shear them twice a year, once in the spring and once in the fall. That's best practice. You want to trim their hooves usually when you shear them, so trim their hooves twice a year or at least once a year. That'll prevent hoof rot and other things like that, and also sometimes they can hurt their feet and legs, you know, if they have bad hooves. So it's important to trim the hooves. Prevents hoof rot and things like that, like I said, and giving them bad legs. So if they get a bad leg, you know, it's going to be hard to keep that animal. If they have a bad foot, you know, they can get nails or sharp glass or things like that in their hooves sometimes, or thorns, things like that. So sometimes you'll see one limping out there, and you kind of got to flip it over and look at its hoof and see what's wrong with it. So if you guys end up getting any sheep, you know, you'll see some, if you see some limping, you know, best practice is to catch them and check their feet. You kind of look between their hoof and see if there's anything in there, and look for things and trim their hooves. And if they get hoof rot, which is rare, I don't get hoof rot out here, but if they do get hoof rot, if you're on a farm that has it, you can generally just put the hoof in alcohol or bleach or something like that for a few days, and you soak it in that once a day, and eventually that hoof rot will be gone. It's pretty easy to cure. My ewe that I bought, I got her for $30 at the sale barn, and she had hoof rot when I first got her, and I just put her foot in alcohol once a day for 3 or 4 days, and it was all gone, and she's never had a problem, and she just had her first lamb, so I was pretty excited about that. But anyway, if you have wool sheep, you're going to have to shear them twice a year. If you have hair sheep, they'll shed. They don't shed in a big tuft. They kind of shed here and there. You don't find big pieces of wool around your pasture. It's not like you would think in your mind. I think in the olden days I was reading that they used to kind of peel the hair off, because you can kind of peel it off once you see it start falling off them. You can kind of peel it off, but I don't have any need to do that. I kind of just let them shed naturally, and I don't really use it for anything. I'm raising mine for meat. As far as feeding them go, any animal that you raise, food and water is going to be the most important thing. For sheep, they need good quality hay and good quality grass. You don't really have to give them grain. But I tend to find that they do a little bit better if you give them a little bit of grain, whether it's corn, sorghum, or some sort of lamb ration or sheep ration that you get from a feed store or whatever. It all works pretty good. I've read things even experimenting where people feed sheep pumpkins and things like that, which I might look into doing some of that, but we'll see. I know that they eat squash and pumpkins because I've given them some before. But basically, food and water, good clean water all the time. And as far as hay goes, if you have good alfalfa hay, that's the best. If you have alfalfa hay, or you can grow good alfalfa hay on your farm or in your region, sheep can do well on just alfalfa hay. So, I mean, that's complete self-sufficiency. If you're growing alfalfa hay on your homestead, and then you've got, 10 or 20 ewes, and you're able to feed those ewes through the winter and through the summer on alfalfa hay, and they've got grass pasture and everything like that, that's complete self-sufficiency there. You're not getting any feed from the store, things like that. Like I said, the grain is supplemental, but it's not required. So, I mean, and even though I give mine grain, they have plenty of pasture land. I give them hay as well. Second best type of hay you can get is probably like Bermuda or fescue hay. I think those are really the main two people feed. Some people feed orchard grass, I guess, but alfalfa is the best if you can get it. But any hay will do. But there is a difference in qualities of hay, and when you're raising sheep or goats, that's one of the important things. If you're feeding them on just hay, you want to make sure you have good quality hay, good quality green hay, Alfalfa is the best, like I said, if you can get that. But it can be expensive. So sometimes the expense is not worth the difference in feed value for your particular region. Like where I'm at, they don't grow a lot of alfalfa hay. They have to ship it in, so it carries a higher premium. So the hay from the area, the fescue and orchard grass hay, is um, a lot better to feed sheep. Um, I mean, the feed's pretty self-explanatory. You make sure you give them feed, and you make sure you give them water daily, and eventually, you know, they should do well. You obviously need a ram and a ewe out there to breed. Um, Sometimes it's good practice to separate the ram from the ewe if they have new lambs, because sometimes the rams can get kind of aggressive. I've been watching mine out there, and he's been fine. And these are 11 days old, so they're kind of on their own. But if they were new, brand new, you know, that's kind of why I wanted to have her penned up separately, because I wasn't sure how the ram would be around them. So that's something to keep in mind if you're having lambs. In the springtime, in most regions, especially in my region, um, it's good practice to worm your sheep with ivermectin or other wormers. Ivermectin's been what we've always used my whole life since I was young. It's just you get like a squirt gun kind of, and you put it in their mouth, and oral syringe, I guess they call it, of ivermectin, and it says on there the poundage and the weight. I find it's better to give them a little bit more than, you don't want to give them too little. It's better to give them a little bit more than too little of that stuff as far as poundage goes. And you're not going to weigh every sheep and say this one's exactly 150 pounds. So some of them might be 165, and it might say, you know, 175 dosage, 160 dosage. You're probably going to want to give it the 175 if you're worming them. And it's discretionary. You can read into it a little bit more, but the main thing is that you're going to want to make sure you're worming your animals in the springtime. It's going to reduce the fatality a lot in the sheep. And once they get worms, they kind of have a slow starvation, and they get skinny, and eventually they just die if they get worms. So it's important to make sure you're worming them. And if you're not, some people do it all organically without worming them, and some people don't have as many problems. But generally speaking, you're going to have a few of them are always going to die of parasites when you do it that way. It's almost inevitable. So I find it's best practice to worm them. What else was I going to talk about here? There's other medicines you can give them if they get sick. What's the main one? It comes from a fruit. Trying to remember the name of it. I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but usually we give the lambs overeating and tetanus shots is pretty good practice. If you're giving them unlimited creep feed, that's good practice for the lambs to give them an overeating and tetanus shot. Another thing to be aware of with them is they're going to need at least a 3-sided shed for shelter out of the rain and the elements if you're out there. So make sure you have proper shelter for the animals. They need to be able to stay out of the rain. Make sure they get some outdoors, especially for sheep and goats. You can't just keep them inside and in a barn all the time. A couple days would be fine, but they kind of need to be out walking around in the pasture with some fresh air. It's a lot better for the animal. Penicillin, by the way, was the name of that medicine I was saying. If they get certain illnesses, sometimes giving them a shot of penicillin can help, or giving them a shot every day until they're healed, depending on what you think they have. You know, you kind of got to do a self-diagnosis a little bit on it. What else was I going to say? The lambs, I like to give the lambs a creep feed area where they can get grain and hay separate from the bigger ones. I tend to think that they'll grow a little bit better that way, a little bit faster. It's not required to do that. You can feed them with the rest of the flock, but they're smaller, so they aren't going to get as much of a portion. Sometimes they might get pushed around a little bit, so it's nice for the lambs to give them a creep feed area, as they call it, where they kind of have a feeder that has grain and a feeder that has hay, and it's kind of separate from the rest of the animals. And it's got a, what you'll do is you'll put up a gate that has a opening that is just small enough that just the lambs can get through and none of the older sheep can get through. So that's some. As far as the creep feeders go, if you're trying to do show animals or things like that, creep feeders probably good if you're trying to raise quality lambs that are as big as they can possibly get. They'll grow a little bigger and a little longer and a little stronger the more feed they get. Once they're about at least probably between 30 and 50 days old, you're going to want to wean the lambs and take them away from the mother. And at that point, they're basically you're going to have to separate them, and they're going to cause a fuss. They aren't going to like it. They're going to cry for a day or two, and then eventually they'll be self-sufficient. They'll be on their own eating hard feed. By that time, they'll already be eating hard feed, but they're still milking. But you're separating them so that they'll start eating hard feed only. And that initial pull away from the mother, you might have to you're going to have to pen them up separate. Probably having a spot that they can't see the mother is good, because otherwise sometimes they'll try to escape and get back in there and start milking again. When you first pull the lambs off the ewes, if you're not trying to milk the ewe, which I'm going to try to milk mine, but if you're not trying to milk them, you're going to want to dry the ewe up a little bit. And generally speaking, I'd say it's good to not give them water for a day, and milk out the bag if you can. Don't give them, a lot of grain. You can give them a little bit of hay. But as far as it goes, you're going to want to dry up the ewe. Otherwise, they get mastitis, and they start to get mastitis in their bags if you keep feeding them and watering them full after you pull those lambs off. So that's something to think about too. If you're when you're weaning the lambs, because there's going to come a point you got to take the lambs from the mother, and when you're doing that, like I said, you're gonna, for a day or two, you don't want to give the ewe a lot of feed, and you want to give minimal water for that day or two, because otherwise the ewe is going to produce milk and it's going to stay in there, and they can get mastitis, which is pretty bad, and at that point it's just not a good situation. So that's something to consider, is you're going to have to wean the lambs at some point. Once you do that, basically, I tend to think when the lambs, when they get to about 90 pounds plus, is pretty good butcher weight. But they can get bigger than that if you want. Just depends how you prefer. One thing that's nice about sheep is they're turning your grass, they're turning land in the meat. So they're converting your grassland into meat, just like cattle and some other animals. They do it a little more efficiently than cattle. Great things about sheep is they don't test the fence like goats, so they don't escape quite like goats do. They won't climb the fence. They'll stay in the pen. They tend to deal with the fences a lot more like cattle. Now, I don't know how barbed wire is for sheep. I tend to use woven wire for sheep, woven wire fencing. Barbed wire might work, but woven wire is what you're going to want to use for sheep, I would say. But they won't escape like goats do, which is a huge plus, because if you have apple trees or fruit trees, things like that, at least you won't have to worry about the sheep getting out and eating all them. What else was I going to say about sheep? I'm just trying to give some of the fundamentals to try to help someone if they wanted to start raising sheep. Main thing, you're going to want to have some ewes and have a ram, and if you have that, then you should be able to have some lambs. They tend to have their lambs, generally speaking, depending on the breed, between January and April. You'll get some in the fall. Mine were born around January, I think they were born on January 16th or January 15th. I have a video of it on my phone. There's more to it, but these are just basic things. I find that if you're going to raise sheep, there's lots of great books on it. I recommend reading a book on any animal before you start raising them. Main things for any animal that you're going to raise. Any animal, this is kind of baseline. make sure they have food, water, and shelter. Just like people, food, water, shelter is the main things that the animals need. If you have those things, they're going to do well, and they should produce for you. As long as you're not getting an older animal or something like that. Also, I figured at the end of this video here, I'd give an update on the pig. I think I'll do like a before and an after, because he's getting big, and I just figured some of the viewers would like to see the pig as well. Same concept. All I'm doing with the pig is food, water, shelter. He's got his pasture over there. You're going to need fences for animals as well. So food, water, shelter, fencing, I guess. Well, guys, here's the pig. You can see him. Hey, Bailey, come here. He's a little nervous. Get out of here. Get out of here. You can see him. He's a little nervous. Bailey, come on. No, no, no. Here's the pig, guys. You can see him. He's a little nervous, but he's liking this corn I gave him. I named him Cornelius because he likes corn. But I've been very excited for him. He's fun to watch. You can hear Bailey don't like him. Bailey's got shocked by the fence a few times. But anyway, figured you guys would enjoy seeing the pig a little bit in the video. Look at him eat. Look how big this guy's getting. He's got to be close to, he's probably getting close to 100 pounds here. Calm down, buddy. But look at him. He's big now. Cornelius is getting big. This is interesting. I figured it tied into the sheep and the lamb, talk this week. It's from the Bible. Bailey's chasing a squirrel over there. I figured I'd add it in because I thought it was interesting. And it says here in my Bible, the master enough for the need of his servants, the only acceptable motive in service. And then it also says the master appoints the time and manner of the servant's death. And this is from the book of John. This is after Jesus was resurrected and he came and he saw the disciples. Jesus saith unto them, come and dine. None of the disciples durst ask him, who art thou? Knowing that it was the Lord. Jesus then cometh and taketh bread and giveth them, and fish likewise. This is now the third time that Jesus shewed himself to his disciples. After that he was risen from the dead. So when they had dined, Jesus saith to Simon Peter, Simon, son of Jonas, lovest thou me more than these? He saith unto him, Yea, Lord, thou knowest that I love thee. He saith unto him, feed my lambs. He saith to him again the second time, Simon, son of Jonas, lovest thou me? He saith unto him, Yea, Lord, thou knowest that I love thee. He saith unto him, feed my sheep. He saith unto him the third time, Simon, son of Jonas, lovest thou me? Peter was grieved, because he said unto him the third time, lovest thou me? And he said unto him, Lord, thou knowest all things. Thou knowest that I love thee. Jesus said unto him, feed my sheep. Verily I say unto thee, verily, verily I say unto thee, when thou wast young, thou girdest thyself, and walkest whither thou wouldest. But when thou shalt be old, thou shalt stretch forth thine hands, and another shall gird thee, and carry thee whither thou wouldest not. This spake he, signifying by what death he should glorify God. And when he had spoken this, he saith unto him, follow me. Thought that was interesting. It was John chapter 21, verses 12 through 20. So anyway, guys, just figured that was an interesting thing to add to the video for you guys. But anyway, that's all I really had to talk about today, guys. I just figured it'd be a good topic for someone that wanted to start raising sheep to hear some pointers from me. I've been raising sheep pretty much my whole life. These are the first ones that I've kind of owned on my own on my homestead here, off my family's farm. But these ones I got at the local sale barn, and I had my first lamb. So I've been real excited about it, and I just figured maybe this can help someone start raising sheep, give them some of the baseline things they need. Main things: food, water, shelter. Read a book on it is a good practice. And you know, just little pointers, like when you have your first lambs, you'll have to wean them. You know, and I went over some of the ways to do that. Probably good to read a book on it too, because there's different methods, and everyone does it just a little bit different. Every farmer has some different tips and things, but those are just some of my tips. So I've actually won the National Sheep Show with some of my sheep growing up. We had purebred monodales, and we've had some that have won the National Sheep Show before. So we have had really good purebred sheep growing up, which is a little different than what I'm doing now, because I'm raising these ones more for meat. So it's a little bit different. But you know, as far as it goes, all the sheep are pretty similar. The only difference is the wool ones you have to shear, the hair ones you don't, which is a big plus to me, because shearing is tough and it requires some expenses to do it, and the wool isn't worth a ton. Anyway, I'll get off the topic, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching, and God bless y'all. You ready for your treat? See it? See it? See it? Nice catch. Nice catch. We'll give you one more for the show. One more, boy. See it? Nice. Very nice. Good boy. Good boy.